Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hi friends, and welcome to a video that I'm very excited to be making. I have made a couple posts on Instagram lately, so if you follow me over there, you'll probably know what these are going to be. Also, if you've been a long time follower of my channel, you will have heard of all of these books numerous times. But there is this post people have done that's called Books That I Will Hear No Criticisms About. You know, basically the very favorite of favorites of yours. Books that when people want to complain about them, it honestly like hurts your heart a little bit. And I decided that I would put them into a video for you guys instead of just a post on my Instagram, because I know, you know, people always want to know what your favorites are. But I'm putting it out there to begin with. If you're a longtime viewer, these will be very redundant to you. But if you're new to me, maybe you haven't been following me long, maybe you haven't went and looked at my favorites of years past, I'm going to go through some of them for you here. This is by no means a fully extensive list. If you want that, you'll want to look at my favorites of 2020, 21, 22, 23 if you want to know all of them. But these are going to be books that, number one, I've given 6 stars to them. And again, I talk about what my 6-star rating is in other videos. We won't. But basically, it means my favorites. And these are books that, you know, on this channel, I pride myself that this is a safe space. I know that term gets used a lot, and maybe some people think I'm too flippant when I call it a safe space, but I love discussing books with people. That's why I ever started a channel. It's why I like to have, you know, not just my Patreon doesn't just support me. It's where I go to, you know, vent about books or talk really in depth about them. And I have books that annoy me that I want to rant about, and I want people to know that I'm not attacking the person who likes the book, right? It isn't about, you know, when I have a critique of a story, it's never about the person who loves it. And I think that we forget that sometimes. I think that when we hear that someone doesn't like a book that we like, or they start picking apart, or even worse, let's be honest, even worse, when they say something like, if you like this book, I don't know what's wrong with you. Or if you like this book, you're not intelligent. Like, there's legitimately people who say that. And granted, a lot of the times they're saying that to be a shit stirrer. They're saying it because they know it will get clicks. It's going to get comments and likes of people getting all fired up about everything, you know. So I generally try to stay away from conversation like that, because people can have whatever opinion they want. It doesn't hurt me at all. Where it does hurt me, is in my YouTube comments. Now, I don't think people realize this, because they think because I have, you know, 22,000 subscribers, which is crazy, more than enough to, you know, fill a auditorium or a stadium or something like that, which is wild. But each individual video doesn't get that many views, right? My videos get 1,000 to 2,000, 3,000. A good video gets like 5,000 views, okay? And it's usually a lot of the same people who watch every one of my videos and love me. You know, you have a lot of silent subscribers, okay? I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. And so that means I see every comment someone leaves. Every single one. I do. I check my comments 3 or 4 times a day because I like to interact with people. Again, that's why I very first started a channel, is I wanted to discuss books with people, and I wanted specifically to discuss books that I love. It's why I very rarely make negative focused books. You know, I might make videos. I might make a video about like pet peeves where we're talking in generalities. I might make that one video a year when I do like all of my DNFs and low rated ones, but I very rarely make videos about things that I hate. I want to talk about things I love. I want to know what you love. Okay. That's what I'm here for. That's why the Book Refuge exists, a safe place to talk about the books we like and don't, and know that you won't be judged for it. However, again, I do read every comment. And so when there's a book that I cherish with my whole heart and soul, and I gave it 6 stars, I talk about it in a lot of videos, and somebody doesn't like it, well, number one, that's okay. You don't have to like it at all. There's millions of books I don't like, right? But when it's a book that I'm very clearly gushing about, I'm very clearly so happy to be sharing it with you, and someone wants to say like, oh, that's dumb, or oh, what's wrong with you, or oh, you're going to hell for reading that, that's monster smut, whatever. it does hurt me a little bit. Okay. Now, again, in general, I just delete those. I don't even necessarily delete them from my channel because I'm thinking if you want to look stupid saying that, you're more than welcome to. But I usually just delete the notification so I don't have to see it, and then it's just in my comments or whatever. But when I get ones where people really want to go to town on me personally, for how I feel about the book, I get pissed. Not just because you're attacking a book I love, which does bother me, right? It does hurt me if you say you hate a certain book. It does hurt a little bit, but I'm a big girl and I normally don't have to react, or I'll just send an emoji like, oh, I'm sorry it didn't work for you. It's fine. But when someone wants to like attack a book and say, you know, you're gross for liking that, just in general, you get it. I get pissed because, again, I'm a safe place for people to talk about books. And if I love a book, I know that 1,001 other people probably love it too. And they don't have the voice that I have, and they don't have the platform that I have. And so when people are making degrading comments about people liking a certain thing, they don't feel like they have the voice to like spit back at that. And I don't have any problem doing that. Not a single problem at all. So you'll see in my comments, once in a while, someone will say a thing like that, and I will answer them. And I'm a kill them with kindness type of gal. I'm a passive-aggressive girl when I need to be. I'm normally aggressive-aggressive, but I'll be passive-aggressive in my comments because I don't stand for that. I don't. We will have the discussion, but you will not degrade other people's opinions or try to make them feel small for liking something. Now, this went sideways just a little bit because, again, I want to keep it to the positive. The amount of bad comments I get is so teeny tiny compared to all the wonderful ones that I get that's why those ones stand out more, right? When they think they're like scoring a point off of you because they try to sound intelligent about not liking something you like, or trying to say something, make a big statement about people who like romance. I'm like, bitch, I've been reading romance for almost 20 years. There ain't nothing you can say to me that I haven't heard before, and it just rolls off my back. I'm a duck. Your comments are like water. They roll right off my back, okay? Like, I'm rubber and you're glue, all that stuff from middle school, because that's what it is. When you want to tease someone or talk down to someone for liking something, you're being a middle schooler, and this is a channel for adults. I don't know if you've seen that. We talk about pegging and fucking and bondage. This is an adult channel, okay? We're not going to act like kids, okay? Whew, getting all heated. So that being said, floating all that away, where am I going with this video? That's, you know, books I'll hear no criticism on, is that these are the books that I am more than happy to discuss them. Again, I would love to discuss the nuances, and even if there's something you don't like about it and you're like, I don't understand why you're connecting with that character, do you want to talk more about that? I am like, yes, let's do it. But it's ones where people, if they were to look at it and be like, that is an awful book, why do you like it? Or any of that, you are more than welcome to that opinion. You watching it in there, hello, you are more than welcome to that opinion. But I don't want to hear it and or see the comments that say it, okay? Not about these. I think I have like 18 books stacked up right here. These are by no means the extensive list. I've just picked over the last 5 years a few from each year that are my 6-star reads, and even more than that, they're my 6-star reads that I don't want to hear your negativity. Again, we can discuss them because I'm an adult and I can handle a discussion. I won't be upset if you want that. But if you just want to say like, ew, or that is an abusive relationship, or oh, I'm like, save it. Who are you trying to prove it to? You ain't proving it to me. You ain't proving it to my viewers. It's just you looking dumb, trying to degrade a book that I've said is a favorite, you know? And that's what people on the internet love to do. And I refuse to let my channel be a place for it. That's my point with all of it. That's my promise to my viewers, and it's my promise to myself that I won't get sucked into negativity and that I won't let other people's opinions like affect my day-to-day life. Do I always succeed at that? No. And you can ask my bookish besties that I definitely rant to them when I'm upset. But what I promise to be on my channel is the safe place for you to talk about what you don't like and what you do like, as long as you're respectful. I mean, we can even get feisty, because again, I'm not perfect, but I very much try to speak with respect, and especially about romance, because romance gets enough shit from everywhere else. It doesn't need to get it from the people who love it, okay? So I will be accepting of any of the stories that you like. I may not want to read them myself. I may hate them, but I promise to always be respecting of what everyone else likes. And I, as the creator, and I, as the one who's being very vulnerable, putting my face out there and my thoughts out there, I require you to also be respectful if you want to comment on my channel. Because if you don't, you wasted your time and I deleted it, and then your words are lost to everyone. So there you go. Anyway, that was a 10-minute head start, but because a lot of these are 6-star reads, I promise, pinky promise, that I won't talk in depth about most of these. I'm just going to show it, say the few reasons why it's a 6-star read, and we'll go from there, okay? So I know I've said that. We'll see if we stick to it, because these are my babies, my precious babies, so I have a lot to say about them. But I won't do these in order. I just have these all stacked up over here, so we'll just go through them as I grab them, and we'll do it. And I'll have links to every one of these down below. If you want to support me by using a link to buy one of these, that is wonderful. And please feel free as we're watching it, if one of these is your favorites or if you've read it because of me, please let me know. That brings me the greatest of joys. If you've read one of these and also liked it, I'm here for it. Okay, all right. Hopefully some of you skipped to this part. Hi, we will get to the recommendations now. You see, I just talked for 11.5 minutes about that other stuff, and you were the smart person who clicked to this part. So here we go. Let me just grab from the stack. These are in no particular order. These are books from the last 5 or so years that have been 6-star reads, and I don't want to hear criticism about them. Discussion, not criticism, okay? All right, we have Heartless, which I believe was my favorite of 2022. This is wonderful. This is a book that was completely worth the hype to me. I had been hearing Elsie Silver hyped for a couple months, I think it was. I know this one was already out, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I hadn't been loving a ton of books that everyone else had been hyping up, and everyone was loving it. Really, honestly, I hadn't seen any negative reviews from any friends, right? And then I read Flawless for my patrons, actually, and I loved it. And I knew I was going to like Willa and Cade. And I got to tell you, I did. Cade is a book boyfriend forever. He's way up tippy top with, you know, even some of these other men we're going to get to. We're going to get to him. We're going to get to him. But I just adore this. You know, I love a single dad. I love a nanny. I love that he was guarded and grumpy, but he was still like, he was put in his place by Willa sometimes when he needed to be, but in general, he was a steadfast, faithful, devoted man. And once he brings Willa into his, you know, orbit, and the way that she loves his son, he's just like, babe, this is it. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it happen. And I love this book so much, okay? I don't understand it's perfect to me. It's perfect. I've read this book 5+ times. I've annotated it countless times. I'm getting a cracked spine even on my beautiful copy. I have to be careful with my beautiful copy because it's just so perfect for me. I adore it. Oh boy, the light's gonna mess with me now. All right, here's one. The Thief of Shadows by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is a part of the Maiden Lane series, which this one is only book 4. And this one is actually a male virgin who is kind of a, I believe it's Edwardian time. Every time I mess this up, what years this is. 1738, is it King James? Or I don't know, but it's not Victorian. I've called it Victorian Batman. It's not. I think it's like Edwardian or, no, Edwardian is after that. I don't know. Whenever it is, okay? Whenever it is. I love this. This is a part of a series where it's a very dark and gritty historical series. And in this one, we have a widow named Isabel, and we have Winter Makepeace, who, as I said, is the type of, you know, he's also runs a children's home, and this children's home is a charity, and he's the one who kind of represents it, and he's not doing the best job because he doesn't like dealing with politics, and so Isabel gets assigned to kind of help with his like public image type of thing, or else they're going to need to hire someone else to do it because they need money to come in for this charity, and if he can't, you know, present himself well enough to gain funds, then, you know, we'll have to get rid of him because we need someone who can. But Isabel has actually encountered him before when he was dressed like the, I just forgot the name of it, the ghost of St. Giles. It's been a while. And she actually rescued him, but they didn't get his mask off. So she doesn't know that it's him, but he knows that it's her. And he's so attracted to her. And he, without going into the whole thing, like when Winter decided to become the ghost of St. Giles, and he also takes care of the children's home, he knew there's like 3 things that he wants in his life. He wanted a wife and a family. He wanted to take care of the children, and he wanted to be the ghost of St. Giles. And he knew that he could only have 2 of the 3. He has told himself he can only have 2 of the 3. And since at that time he didn't have a woman in his life, he decided to take care of the children and be the ghost of St. Giles. And then there's Isabel. She's also an older woman. As I said, she's a widow. She's had a lot of pain in her life. And she's very attracted to this Winter Makepeace. And yeah, I love their romance and how it goes. And my favorite part about Winter is that once he's decided that Isabel is his woman, he does not let her ruin it for herself. That's what I'll say. Because she does want him, but she feels like she's too old for him, and that, you know, she can't have any children with him. And she's like, I want you to have the full thing. And he's like, woman, I have the children coming out of my ears, you know, because he's taking care of these orphan children. He's like, I need you. I don't need a fictional child that we may or may not have. I need you. And I'm a sucker for that. So adore this. So good. The whole series is really great, but books 4, 5, 8, and 10, I think, are like my favorites in the series. But I love it. I actually have, you can find it on my channel. I'm not going to link it, but if you find it, I actually did a live show with Tiffany from Tiff Talks Pages. I don't even think she had her channel yet. And Jesson from Jesson Reads Romance. We did a like our favorites and least favorites and stuff in it. Which, did you know Elizabeth Hoyt finally has a new book coming out? She was writing the spin-off series of Maiden Lane, and she hasn't had a new book out in 4 years. And the next book in the Hall Court, I think it's the Hall Court Legacy or something, comes out in October. Pretty cool. All right. Okay, here we go. We have my favorite book of 2023, which was P.S. You're Intolerable. Again, I won't spend too much time on this one. I talked about this one nonstop since I first read it. This is a boss and assistant romance. She's pregnant when she becomes his assistant. And after she has her baby, he finds out kind of the tough living situation that she's in. And he realizes that he can't live without her as his assistant in his life, all these things. And so he goes about proving that, like, he's going to be the one to look out for her and her daughter. The way that he loves her daughter is just insane. It's so cute. It's so precious. And this billionaire, he just wants to take care of her in every aspect. It's so beautiful. I love this romance. And Elliot is a book boyfriend for sure. I mean, pretty much all of these ones, you know, have book boyfriends since they're favorites. But okay, we have Last Light. So this is one of the ones I had forgotten of all of these books. This is actually the only one that isn't a 6-star. It is. It's the only one that I'm showing you that this isn't a 6-star read. Okay? But I love this story. I've read this book so many times. This is a standalone book that comes before the Kindled series, which the last book in the Kindled series is actually coming in October. Very excited about that. And there was just something about this story. It's what I call a cozy apocalypse story. The world ended 4 years ago, and we have this woman named Lane who she's ready to kind of meet up with other people from their town. Their town is trying to make their way to like a safe zone, but she had to stay behind to take care of her grandma, and Travis had actually stayed behind to take care of his little girl who was dying. And they know each other because it's a small town, but they weren't like ever friends. He's about like 10 years older than her. And so when she's about to make her way there, he is too. And he offers to travel with her. And at first she doesn't want to, because she doesn't, you know, she's like, I don't care if I knew him before this. I don't trust anyone. But he ends up saving her. And then she agrees to travel with him for protection. And then it's a slow burn between them on the way there. And there was just something about how cozy this was. The world that we get introduced to, I love survival situations, but yet you never feel like we're in too much danger. It doesn't feel like everything's for shock value. It's just these people trying to survive. And along the way, you know, we meet all these other people who are also just trying to survive. And that's where the Kindle series comes in. So I just love this. Again, this one isn't perfect, but at the same time, I don't really have critiques to make of it. It's just so, this book is so comforting. Again, I've went back to this book again and again and again, and I've recommended it to so many people over the years who they've discovered a whole new subgenre too, the cozy apocalypse stories. And I love it so much. So yeah, this is the only one on here. This is a 5-star read. This one wasn't a 6-star book, but it's still like a long time favorite because of that. So I don't really like to see people pick it apart because it's not really meant to be perfect literature. I don't know. That's the thing about Claire Kent and Noelle Adams. They're the same one. She writes just good stories that, like, you know what you're getting out of it. There isn't a ton of angst. Well, there is some angst sometimes. That's true. There is some. It's just people trying to get by, and I just relate to that so much. So yeah, highly recommend that for sure. Okay, we have again The Magic by Lisa Kleypas. Man, you guys, there is what to say about this book. You know, I won't even go into all of it right now, but this was not the first Lisa Kleypas I read. I read The Hathaways first, I think. But this book just moved me so much. I love Aline and McKenna, and there's so much angst between the two of them. There's so many hurt feelings. This is a second chance romance that just devastates me. But the way that, like, I don't know, to me, they're almost like a Wuthering Heights, but with better people and a happy ending. I don't know another way to say that. I've made it notoriously known. I know Wuthering Heights isn't a romance, but there are aspects of these two tragic love that was never going to work when they were young. Because of class difference and because of family getting in the way, and now they're old enough. And instead of letting that past stay between them, they're finally able to break from it and make something for the two of them. And I love these guys. They're always on my list. I think this is fascinating. And every time I reread this series, I'm not sure if I will love it the same, and I always do. So this has stayed on my favorites for years now. I think I read that one in 2018. It's been a long time, for sure. All right, what else we got in here? Ooh, let's go here. We have Sea of Ruin. Now, there are a lot of Pam Godwins that I could put on this list. I really could. I enjoy her books so much. But there's just something about this one that transcends genres. I mean, I see people put this one in fantasy romance. It's really not. I mean, it's historical romance, honestly. It's dark historical romance. It is a pirate hunter, an ex-husband, or I mean, he's still her husband, but you aren't really getting divorces in here, but she wants one. And one of my favorite heroines ever is Bennett Sharp. And she is a female pirate, and she is a badass. And she has two loves in her life. She has her husband, Priest, and then along the way she meets the pirate hunter, Ashley Cutler, who actually takes her captive. He's planning to take her to be murdered, but, you know, it's just not gonna happen that way, because she is a crafty woman and she's gonna use whatever she has to survive. And also, like, the love that they have for each other is so, like, there's some toxic stuff in here. There's also about, like, accepting yourself and becoming who you're meant to be. And it's very, very dark. Like, I reread this one not too long ago, and every time I'm just shocked. I shouldn't be, because I've been reading Pam Godwin for like 5-6 years now. But it still shocks me of how much darkness she drags you through to get you to the light at the end. And I love that. I love that so much. And I'll just always adore this series forever. Or this book forever. It's so good. And people who want to pick it apart for certain reasons, I'm just like, A, you're either missing the point, or B, it just wasn't for you. Like, it's okay if it wasn't for you, right? It's always okay if it's not for you. Okay, let's throw in a paranormal / fantasy romance. We, of course, have Resting Witch Face by Juliet Cross. This is my current favorite Juliet Cross. We'll see. She has some really fantastic ones coming soon. But currently, Juliana and Ruben are my favorite. This one is also a second chance romance. This one is also these two who, they were great loves quite a while ago. And then something went wrong and they missed their chance to be together. And Ruben, particularly, who's a vampire, he's just been biding his time because he knows that Juliana is his fated mate and they will be together someday. And though it might not be right now and she's not ready, he's got forever. So he'll wait. And we see bits and teases of them throughout the series because this is book 5 in the series. So we've seen teases along the way. But once we finally reach that place where they're working together in the beginning of this book they're going actually on like a road trip together to visit other supernatural councils to try to get werewolves a place at the table. And they are having to share beds at little inns and travel together and also finally dig up some of those really painful memories to get to why it didn't work out and how it's going to be different this time. And again, Ruben Dubois, he is a determined man and he's gonna make it happen. He's gonna make it happen. And I love this couple so much. Let me see if there's the really pretty picture in here. I have the page overlays. Yeah, they have to stay at an inn. And there's a tantric sex convention going on at the same time. Or a retreat, but it's fun. But anyway, Juliet Cross, she's a gem. I would put the entire Stay a Spell series on here if I could, because it's just so cozy and lovely, and the sisters are all amazing. I don't have critiques for really any of the books in the series, but that one's my favorite. All right, let's do one that is probably the one that there's the most back and forth with people sometimes. Because this book does not work for everyone, that's for sure. And that one is Untouchable by Sam Mariano. Yes, I pulled out my pretty copy that I got from Blackout Romance. And yeah, this is a high school dark romance. And again, I've talked about this one for literal years, so we won't go into it. There's a super spicy picture in this one. Let me see. I'll cover it. But it has a scene from the bookstore. Oh! Pretty naughty, if you ask me. Very naughty. The pictures on the chapters. There are football and that one. It's great. But anyway, this book, it's super intense. It starts with basically an assault scene in the beginning, and you just don't know how you could possibly have this work. And for a lot of people, it doesn't. Once that happens, it's over. But something you have to get used to with Sam Mariano, if you're going to get used to her at all. Again, you don't have to like Sam Mariano. You don't have to go with it. It's fine. But one of the things you have to be prepared for with her is that she doesn't redeem her men. They are as they are. It's the heroines who have to decide, can I live with this or do I need to run? Often they do try to run and they don't make it very far, because once one of her men becomes obsessed with you, you will fall in line eventually. And again, that's not going to work for everyone. But what I adore about this book, and it's why this one has remained a favorite of hers, from hers, and is a 6-star book for me, is because of the conversations that happen in this one. This is one of her few books that is only from the POV of the heroine. We don't get Carter's thoughts. There's not a single chapter from his thoughts. We only see and hear, and go through the emotions that Zoe is feeling. And through that, we see her, engage him in a lot of conversations, trying to find out why his brain works the way he is. Is it from a trauma? Is it because he's a psychopath? Is it because he, enjoys the control? Like, why is he like he is? And can she deal with it? Is she attracted to what he is like? Does she want to play these games with him or is it too much for her and she just wants to tap out? And the way that she slowly unravels him, both through just straight up he's telling her from things she's observed, as well as when she gives a little to him, well, usually she has to give a lot. He'll give a little to her, and she starts to understand him more. And this is one of the few, just being, I read a lot of dark romance, okay? Very few romances that are a like bully situation or are this type of like thing. Do I believe the characters actually had an HEA? You know what I mean? A lot of times you read those and you're like, well, I hope she got away from him eventually. Or, oh, I hope that, you know, this one didn't last or whatever. I truly believe by the epilogue of this story that the way that Zoe has helped him, this isn't a savior complex, but there are things that Zoe helps him with. There is. It's undeniable to me. It's not that she like fixes him, but there are things that he didn't even know about himself that he hasn't had to face because no one challenged him. He's just been able to take what he wants for so long. And when he finally has something on the line, because there's someone he wants and she's like, I'm not going to put up with certain things, he has to decide if he truly needs them. Was it just a game of power? Like, what does he need, you know? And to watch that play out only from Zoe's point of view is why I love this so much, because there are other characters kind of like him, right? There are other characters she's written that have aspects of Carter. We've seen it, but we get their point of views eventually, even like in some series of hers, we don't get that male POV for a long time, but in most of her other books, they're dual POV. So we know what those men are thinking and we, you know, we can analyze them better. But this book was only from Zoe's point of view. And she has to figure out all those things with only getting the info that he tells her, you know? And I don't think enough people realize how wild that is and how skillful Sam Mariano is to get that across, you know, and the conversation Zoe has in her own head and the way she processes what he does to her, what he says to her, the feelings she's having, what she's attracted to that she never knew she would be like. It's fucking brilliant, guys. It's brilliant how she does that, because so many books, the author, I'm not saying it's the easy way out, because it is not, but so many authors, we get both POVs. And so we're able to see that, oh, he has a secret soft spot, or, oh, he's pretending this, but, oh, he really is soft this way. You don't know that about Carter. He's a wall. Like, he is just imposing, cruel, you know, assaulter. Like, that's all we see until Zoe decides to pick it apart and ask questions and analyze him. And I think that is fucking brilliant, guys. It's brilliant. And people just read the assault and then they're done with it. And that's okay, because not everyone can read non-consent or rape scenes like that and even care if the man will be redeemed or not redeemed. Dark romance isn't for you if it's like that, you know, or that type of trigger isn't for you, and that's okay. But those who are willing to look it in the face and then walk through that story with Zoe, I think is amazing. And it's why Zoe's one of my favorite heroines too, because she is in the weaker place, the poorer place, the disadvantaged place in the whole story. But she's the one who captures Carter's attention. And she could be his plaything or she could be his partner. Which is she going to be? Yeah, I have a lot to say about that one. And I have, and I will. And it's why, again, to finish this off, it's why when people just say, oh, I hate it, or oh, he's a rapist, or oh, he's this, I'm like, yeah, you didn't get it. And that's not a degrading thing to the people who didn't. They might not care to get it, okay? But you don't get it if that's all you see. Right? There are books that I don't get. Again, I don't get Wuthering Heights. I don't care to. I still have people who bitch on my Wuthering Heights review because I hated it and it didn't work for me. And they're like, you aren't taking the right things from it. And I was like, I can take what I want to take. That's how I feel about all of these books for the viewer. Like, you don't have to take out of the book what I get. In fact, you won't. Reading is a singular experience to a large aspect, right? So you're never going to take what I take from it. We have different experiences. We get it differently. And it's why I just wish we were more gentle with critiquing people's favorites. Okay? There are books that are people's favorites that I look at them and I was like, I don't understand. But what works for people works. Okay, we still got a lot to get through. I promise not to gush too much, but Untouchable particularly is one on this list that I love to discuss with people. But when people just say, like, how can you love it? He's a rapist. I'm like, you didn't read the whole book and take what I took from it, because Zoe doesn't see it that way. So I'm not going to see it that way. Anyway, okay, we have When the Earl Met His Match by Stacey Reid. This is another one that, like, this one has some flaws that I can acknowledge. But the way that Phoebe is with, you know, she is this woman who, she's in trouble. She's pregnant. It's not the hero's baby. She's needs to find a husband. Her parents are wanting to send her off to a woman's home and then take her baby from her. And there's this man that she's been writing letters to. He's looking for a husband, or he's looking for a wife, but one that he doesn't have to love. And she has to throw herself upon his mercy, and he ends up not only looking after her, but looking after their daughter, and he just welcomes her with open arms. He's also a mute hero, so there is sign language that gets learned in here too. There's a dog who brings them together as well. Like, I just love it. It's just so sweet. Stacey Reid writes some of the most romantic historicals that I've ever read, honestly. I could put 3 or 4 of her books on this list, but this is my favorite Stacey Reid. I love it so much, and this book has just stayed so close to me for so long. It's wonderful. Alrighty, let me just throw this one up real quick too. I talk about this one. I used to talk about this one a ton. There's Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley. And I picked this one over Twisted Pride. I have both Twisted Emotions and Twisted Pride on my favorite mafia of all time. And they really are both kind of 6-star reads for me. But Twisted Pride, I more so understand people's criticisms of it because it just has a lot that's just like, Ramo is a different level. But this one with Nino, I feel like people get on board with Nino a lot easier as well. He definitely is neurodivergent. He definitely has never cared about anyone before. And, you know, someone in the Las Vegas Camorra needs to marry into the outfit or the family, or the familia. And Ramo isn't willing to do it. So Nino, being the second in command, does it. And he gets married to Chiara. And Chiara is a very traumatized woman. She had been raped by a family member when she was young. And because of that, like, she's seen as lesser. And so they pass her off to her husband, not telling him that she's not, actually, wait, I don't think her whole family doesn't know that she's raped. Obviously, the man who did it to her and another family member know. And they're just going to pass her off to Nino, knowing that, you know, she's supposed to be a virgin. And if they, you know, once he tries to sleep with her on her wedding night, if she's not a virgin, he could want to kill her. You know, she doesn't know anything about him. She doesn't know that the Las Vegas don't care if a woman's a virgin or not. Like, they don't care about that stuff. It's more like what her family does. And so she gets married to this man who she's only heard terrible, horrible things about. She's already a traumatized woman, and she's getting paired with someone that she's told is a brutal, vicious man. But when he finds out that she was raped, which becomes very obvious to him on their wedding night when they're supposed to have sex, and she knows that she's not going to be a virgin and he's going to freak out on her, he looks at her and is like, let me see. I even have the line, so we'll just say it. Because why not? This is my video, and I'll do what I want to. He literally says, "What happened to you?" Okay? I know we've heard that 100 times of, like, who did this to you, but he says, "What happened to you?" She's afraid to say anything. She just says, "I was 13. And he's like, "Someone raped you?" And he's like, "Someone in your family?" And she's like, "It was my uncle." And he's like, she says, "You know, a kind man would spare me the humiliation of having to face my family. You'd just kill me." And he says, "A kind man might. But I will find the man who did this to you and make him feel the same terror you did that night, and pain unlike anything he thought possible. And eventually, when he's been begging for it a long time, and when he's given up hope, I'll grant him death." And that's Nino, everybody. He barely even knows her either, but he is not going to let a woman be treated that way. So she tells him who it was. He goes and gets his brother, and instead of, you know, forcing sex upon his wife that night. They murder her. They make him beg forgiveness from her, and then he murders her uncle on their bed instead. And so instead of her blood being on the sheets, because that's the tradition in the familias, the virgin blood needs to be on the sheet. Instead of his blood being, or her blood being on the sheet, her uncle's blood stained the sheets. And that's Nino, okay? Because now she is in this arranged marriage with him. And he's willing to, you know, leave her be. He's like, this is a political marriage, basically. I'll leave you be. And he's willing to go find other women to seek his pleasure. She's like, you know, maybe I do have a chance to be with a man who will be there for me. And he doesn't think he can love. He doesn't think he has the feelings that will work, but we'll prove different. We'll prove different. So anyway, I picked this one instead. Twisted Pride, again, is way up there. I think Ramo is one of the OG twisted mafia men. A lot of people that have come after have tried to be who he is. Even the author of this has tried to write another Ramo and just can't write him quite the same. But yeah, Twisted Emotions makes my list. All right, where else we go? Let's throw in another one that I don't have too much to say. It just is wonderful. There is You and Me by Tal Bauer. This is a romance. It's two single dads. And they are just so perfect. I love these guys so much. One of them's a widower. One is a divorcee or a divorced dad who comes out as gay later on. And him and his son are now like on their own. And the sons are friends and they're in football together. And the one dad becomes a part of the boosters so that he can be around his son more. And in doing so, he ends up becoming friends with his son's friend's dad. And then eventually they fall in love. And it's very, very sweet. And it's beautiful because though Luke has always, you know, been considered straight, he really falls in love with Landon as his friend. And to him, the gender doesn't even matter. And I'm not trying to even make that a huge thing. It's just true. Like, he falls in love with this beautiful human and they just both happen to be men. And there really is no like pushback in the environment. This one is all just like interfamily stuff. Like, him and his son need to fix their relationship. Luke so desperately wants a relationship with his son. It's one of the most beautiful things I've read. It honestly is. It's so perfect. I highly recommend it for, I mean, even if you don't love romance. I mean, I know that's a hard transition. If people don't love romance, you don't want to read it. But if you're someone who's willing to read kind of any type of couple, or you just want to read a sweet romance of a man just as equally falling in love with another man, healing a relationship with his son, oh, it's so beautiful. I cried from happiness so many times when reading that. That's why it's a favorite book of last year. It's so beautiful. Highly recommend. Okay. All right. We know Tristan had to show up. Like I said, these aren't in any order. I'm just pulling them off the stack here. We have The Takeover. This was my favorite book of 2020. Now I'm stretching back, but yeah, this is a single mom of 3 boys. She has a struggling media company. We have Tristan Miles, who is sent to buy out her company. She refuses to sell because she wants to keep this company for her boys. She's a widow, obviously. And Tristan really falls for her, and because she's beautiful and he really wants to have her, not just the business, and she just is so not interested. But then they both end up actually at like a business conference. I think they're in France or something like that, and they end up having kind of like a weekend fling. And then when they get back to their home, like he's in, he wants her. And she's like, no, this was just a fling. But Tristan Miles is the takeover king, and he's not saying goodbye until he has not only Claire, but her 3 sons in love with him. And he's going to work his magic, y'all. He's going to work his magic. And this is a book that I know isn't perfect, okay? There are things that bother me about this book, okay? But there's some style choices, okay? Things that in other books by T.L. Swan really do bug me, okay? Like, just a side note here, I'm currently reading the bonus, which comes out next week, her new release, and there are quirks that she has that are in every book she writes. And in the bonus, they're making me want to tear my hair out. I'm like, stop using that term. Stop using that word. They're used in this one. She hasn't changed those things. But when I read it in here, I'm just like, oh, it's just quirky. And when I read it in that one, I'm like, come on, T, what are you doing? But anyway, this is perfect. I love it. Tristan Miles is my book fiance, if you don't know. Okay, I have book husband, which we haven't gotten to book husband yet. We will save that one for the end. We have book husband, we have book fiance, and then we have all the book boyfriends. So Tristan Miles is book fiance. Okay, he's there. He's willing and able if book husband were to ever falter, but that's silly. That's not happening. Okay, let's do a couple more mafia ones. I'll do some of these kind of quick because I talked about them a ton. We of course have Broken Vow. Okay, I have a quote from Broken Vow right here that says, I want to set you free, so I don't want to hear any criticism about Broken Vow, okay? This is Riona. She is a mafia daughter. She's a lawyer for the family, and she falls for a man who ends up being her bodyguard. He ends up needing to take her to his hometown down in, did they go to Tennessee? Yeah, I can't even remember. I think it's in Tennessee. To keep her safe from someone who's trying to kill her. And this uptight, on top of it, black cat falls for this golden retriever hero so hard and so deep. And, you know, things might get a little kinky to get us there, but also just like, he's so good, okay? Like, Raylan is perfect, okay? He's everything I love. That Glenn Powell meme's going around, think of this guy, okay? Ex-military, cowboy, going home to his roots, introduces her to his family. Like, it's great. Okay, love it. Then also by her, we have The Bully. This is my favorite book from the Kingmaker series, which is getting rebranded to be called Kingmakers. And then there's year 1, year 2, year 3, all that, you know. But this one is Dean. This is Sophie's ode to Draco Malfoy, which I'm always here for, okay? Ode to Draco whenever you want. But he was the bully at this school, basically, and he gets his romance, where in the beginning, he is kind of holding something above this other character, like he knows something that could really get her in a lot of trouble, and instead of, you know, just being nice about it, he forces her to be his slave in a lot of different ways for a certain amount of time. But he himself gets ensnared at the same time he's bossing her around. And I actually really love this. There's some very beautiful, like, sexual exploration, which I love seeing that happen in, I don't want to say kids. They're like 20. I believe they're like 20 years old because this is a mafia, like, college type place. But still, you know, 20-year-olds just don't know how to fuck perfectly. They just aren't, you know, all of a sudden brilliant at that stuff, you know? It's not that he isn't a sexual man, or, you know, he definitely is, but the things that they explore together and experience are just so special. They actually, like, shock them. Like, it actually kind of, like, freaks them out how just sexually compatible that they are. It's great. I love it. I love it. It's very clever. Very, very much so. And then the other mafia one I'll share, we're getting close to the end, we're getting there, is, of course, Carnal Urges by J.T. Geisinger. This was my favorite of 2021. I think we've worked through the ones. We have 2020, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, we're getting through them all. But anyway, this is a captor-captive. This is Sloane. She gets kidnapped by Declan, and then Declan ends up becoming the boss of the Irish Mafia. Now he has this woman that he'd kidnapped because his boss told him to. And now he's the boss, and he's like, what do I do with this woman? And Sloane is not going to make it easy for him. No siree, she is not. And things get very interesting, and he falls head over heels for her. But, you know, does she want to be involved with him? We'll have to see if she does or not. But I adore this one. This is one that literally, like, every page is highlighted. The banter between these two, next level. The audiobook for this series, amazing. Troy Duran. These are duet narration. This was the first series that really showed me why duet narration is amazing. I hadn't really heard it before. I just hadn't. It'd usually been like 2 narrators for like different, whichever, the male or the female, but I never heard like duet narration before this series, and now it's like my favorite thing. It's so good. All right, the last historical to share, we have The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie. We have someone on the autism spectrum in here, is the way that he's written. And then we have Beth, who is a widower, and she is pretty, it's not that she's super wealthy, but she does have independent means. She has some money that's left to her, and she actually had a good marriage. This is a case of like, she had a husband, he died young, but he was a good husband to her. Actually, they had a good sexual relationship. They had a good marriage. He was, I think, like a parson or kind of like a pastor, so she was like a pastor's wife too. And then after he died, she was a companion to this older woman, and that woman left her money when she died. So again, now she's kind of like an independent woman. But in the beginning, she's being courted by this one guy who's a loser. And she's maybe planning to marry him. She's thinking she might, because they get along. Well, it turns out he has been cheating on her the whole time, and he's into being degraded by women, which again, your kink, enjoy it. But he's trying to marry Beth, and she doesn't know about any of these. So we have Ian Mackenzie, who doesn't usually care about other people's lives or anything, but he knows that this guy is kind of a creep. And when he hears that he's going to marry Mrs. Beth Ackerley, he's like, well, let me go meet this woman. And if I like her, I'm going to warn her what he's doing. If I don't like her, then it's none of my business, right? So he goes to meet her. And when Ian meets Beth, he is shook. This man who doesn't show any emotion, who can't look people in the eye, who is only focused on numbers and on his Ming bowls that he loves and on the things that entertain him. He is struck by her beauty, immediately obsessed with her. Their first meeting, when he just sits and wants to touch her hand, when he doesn't like to touch people. It's fantastic, okay? I love this couple so much. Beth and Ian are my heart, you guys. This is... it's everything, okay? This couple is everything. And, it faces some darker things. I would consider the Mackenzies on the darker-ish side of historicals because, Ian, he was put in an asylum at times because his neurodivergence was not understood and his father used it against him. He has to have like a guardian of him, technically, like his brother Hart, who's the Duke. If he doesn't like something Ian's doing, he could force him back into an asylum if he wanted to. So he isn't exactly like the freest of men, if other people don't like what he does. But what I will say too, this book has remained a favorite for a very long time. And Ian Mackenzie, not only is his love story beautiful, but if you actually continue reading the Mackenzie series, which I do highly recommend, Ian is basically responsible for every member of his family getting a happily ever after. So this man who didn't believe that he could love someone, he doesn't understand maybe what love is responsible for pretty much every love story in the series. And seeing him be a dad, y'all, get on the Ian Mackenzie train, okay? He's everything. He's everything. And if you ever go back in my author interviews, I actually interviewed Jennifer Ashley, and I cried all over her when I talked about Ian and Beth. It was not my proudest moment, but I don't care. No fear there. Okay, then we have a book that is a favorite of this year, and will be a favorite for many years to come, I'm sure, is Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. This one is actually like a new adult age type thing, and we have a figure skater and a hockey player. Our hockey player, Reese, has actually been through an ordeal, and he's having some trouble being back on the ice again. And then we have Sadie, who, as I said, she is a figure skater. She's basically taking care of her 2 younger brothers. She's trying to go to the Olympics. She has a lot on her plate, and she does not have time for this cute hockey player who's having a meltdown on the ice when she needs to be doing her morning skate, okay? But she shows him some compassion and helps him get through this panic attack, and now she has a boy obsessed with her, and he will take anything he can get from her, take any moments that he can be around her and with her. And, you know, she has a lot of damage in her past. She's not an easy woman to love. She's not, you know, doesn't want a commitment. She has so many other commitments as it is. But at the same time, there you can feel the yearning in her that she does feel this connection that he does. She just doesn't know how she can have it. And watching Reese be patient and steadfast and willing to wait for her and willing to not rush or need his own way is just truly special. And whether this was in a new adult or any type of other situation, it was always going to catch my attention and be beautiful. And I'll also say too, there are times where you won't like Sadie. You will be like, Reese, you're too good for this woman, you know, and there'll be things where you just want to be like, dude, just walk away. But he sees the beauty in her and the goodness in her. And because this relationship to him is so much more than just lust-based or attraction-based, he's willing to be patient and wait for her. And I think, I haven't read a lot of books like that. I am so excited to see what other books this author writes. The next one in this series is coming next year, and I am anticipating it with the utmost excitement. Just can't wait. All right. 2 books left, and you probably know what they are. So speaking of Reese's, and not the pieces type of Reese's, we have A Court of Mist and Fury, which I know is on many people's favorites list. It's on mine. I have reread this book again and again and again, and my feelings have never waned or changed or shifted. In fact, they've only grown. Like, the depth of my love for this book has only grown each time I read it. Each time I read it, I'm like, can I possibly love this the same as I did before? Can I possibly find the same level of joy with this, you know, like new adult type written book? But I do. I feel for Feyre so much in this story, and Reese is just the perfect midnight shadow daddy, prince charming out there. He's clever and sharp and sweet and protective, and he loves his people, and he loves his city, he loves his court, and he's going to do whatever he has to do. He's willing to play whatever games he has to play and sacrifice whatever he has to make sure that his people and his mate are safe. And I just love it. Okay, this is an example of a book that people have a lot of opinions on, okay? And so is the next one I'm going to show. Some of my very favorite books people have so many opinions on, and again, they are entitled to them. But I just want people to think, if you're one of the people who is like, that literature is just ridiculous, or like that doesn't count, whatever, the amount of joy and understanding and connection I feel with this fantasy world, I don't give a fuck what people's negative opinions are about it, okay? And if you're someone who needs to tear down other people's joy in a wonderful, heartwarming series that literal millions of people love, maybe you're the one who needs to re-examine it and examine why you care so much that other people love it so much, you know? Maybe you're sick of all the memes and the TikToks about it. I can understand that. They do get a little overwhelming, but A Court of Mist and Fury, guys, is wonderful. It's great. All right. Now, without further ado, and this one is the book that I love discussing. I love discussing so much that I started a book club, and we've actually been doing this book club since the beginning of the year, and we are reading or rereading the Outlander series. This is a book I love to discuss the nuances of. I love to debate the strengths and weaknesses of this story and how Diana chose to tell it, and digging deep into the characters. And it's a series that there's so much room for discussing the characters because we see 30 plus years of their lives throughout the books. So you're not going to like them and love them the same amount all the way through the series, okay? And each time I read this series, I've read this now, I actually looked back because for another video, I'm talking about the year in which I read some of my favorite things. I first read this book in 2015, which was when I first moved to Fargo, almost a decade ago now, is when I read this. So I've read this book at 21, I've read it at 26, and I've reread it at 30, 31. And I have felt different and connected with different characters and different people in the series every time that I've read it. And that has been such a cool experience with a series that is so vast and so large and there's so many characters. But it still all started with a feisty World War II nurse on her second honeymoon in Scotland who falls through time and meets one of the greatest literary heroes of all time. That's right, I said it. One of the greatest literary heroes of all time, the king of men, the Highlander above them all, James Alexander Malcolm Mackenzie Fraser. Ladies and gentlemen, my book husband, my favorite fictional male to read about is here, okay? Deeply, deeply love this series. Now again, I am absolutely open to discussions about this book. Again, I have a whole page on my Discord for it. We've read through the first 4 books in the series already. I have book clubs about them. I'm so happy to talk through it with you. But anyone who wants to, I actually even have a video too about like drunk reacting to 1-star reviews of this. But anyone who jumps into this book and says like, wow, this is a toxic, abusive relationship between Jamie and Claire, you can see yourself to the door. The Book Refuge is not the place for you, okay? They are not perfect people. That's not what I'm saying. Jamie's my book husband, and he's not a perfectly written man, okay? But he feels so real to me. This couple, this story is one of the this book is about as close to my heart as any story can ever get. There's really only one other book in existence, and I'm not even talking about the Bible, that's important too. There's only one other fictional story in the world that is like closer to my heart than this one is. So when anyone wants to degrade it or jump on top of it or be just negative for no reason about it, well, maybe they have a reason, whatever. Just take it somewhere else. Save it for Goodreads. Save it for somewhere else. Don't be negative about my babies on my channel. Are you crazy? Are you that cruel? Are you that cruel? No. Keep it to yourself. If I want to read 1-star reviews, I'll go to Goodreads with my glass of wine and do it if I want to. Okay? Anyway. Oh yeah, I know someone's going to ask. The book that is the closest to my heart is East by Edith Pitow. But that is a middle grade / like kids book. So I don't have it on this list. But I know someone's going to ask. So there's your answer. But this book is like, as an adult, this is the book series that is like the closest to my heart. But yeah. So there we go. We end this with the King of Men right there. As you know, it had to happen. Wow, don't be crooked. Sit up straight. But yeah, there you go. This made it to an hour. You know, because of course I had to rant a little bit in the beginning, but whew, my mouth's dry. I'm tired. I need to now edit this video, but I hope this was a fun video. I hope you liked it. Again, those of you who are longtime viewers, I don't think there's a single one of these books that probably surprised you. And this isn't even all of them, okay? This is from 2 like Instagram posts that I did where I could fit 9 books on each one of books that I will accept no criticism about. And I definitely could make more of these, but I think this is a good place to go. This is a good place to go. As I read more books that become favorites, I definitely will make more of this. But thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, definitely give me some hearts in the comments because you are the real MVP, okay? Make sure you give this a like too. Again, I have links to all my favorites down below if you want to support my channel that way by buying one. And again, please comment. Tell me your books that are what they say, your Roman Empire, the books you always think about, the books you don't want to hear negative things about. Please let me know. And I think that's it. It's time to wrap this up. This has been long enough. But thank you so much for watching, friends. And I'll see you next time. Bye.